Hello, and welcome to the virtual information session for the Duke Career Center's Internship Funding Program. My name is Leanne Waring, and I am the Assistant Director for Internships and Experiential Education here in the Duke Career Center. I will be facilitating today's session and will be available to you by email and also by appointment for any questions that you may have. Thank you for joining us. In today's session, we'll talk about the following agenda items. First, an overview with program objectives about the Internship Funding Program. Second, we'll talk about student eligibility and the qualifications that an internship must have in order to be qualified for the program. We'll also discuss frequently asked questions and provide a general application overview. We'll also talk about additional funding sources and ideas for students. Before we get into the application process and student eligibility information, I wanted to share some information about the Duke Career Center's Internship Funding Program. First, what is it? It is an application-based program where students can submit their proposals for funding for either an unpaid or lowly paid internship for summer semester. The program was developed to help facilitate Duke students' participation in experiential career exploration. It is our hope that by offsetting any type of financial burden, that we can expand upon the diversity of internship opportunities in which Duke students will participate over the summer. The purpose of the program is to offset or to minimize expenses that may incur as a result of a student accepting an unpaid internship or a lowly paid internship. While it is a funding program, however, it is important to note that this program is not to be considered as a wage or a stipend for the actual work performed, but rather as an assistance to help pay for these living costs so that students can pursue opportunities that they may not otherwise have. As I've previously mentioned, the Duke Career Center's Internship Funding Program, or what I'll often refer to as the IFP, is an application-based program. Therefore, there is an application deadline. This year, the deadline to apply is on March 2nd, 2015 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In order to be eligible for funding, all application materials must be submitted in full by 11:59 p.m. on March 2nd. This is a hard deadline and no exceptions will be made. This year, the maximum award amount available to students is $3,000. Please note that this is the maximum amount a student can receive through the Internship Funding Program. However, it is not guaranteed that you will receive this maximum amount. This is simply the cap amount that is available for students to apply. In order to be eligible to apply for funding through the Duke Career Center's Internship Funding Program, the following criteria must be met. First, you must currently be an enrolled undergraduate student at Duke University. Unfortunately, at this time, graduate students are not eligible for funding through the Duke Career Center's IFP. Students must also be enrolled in fall following the completion of their internship. This means that students must be planning on completing courses in the fall 2015 semester on Duke's campus, or they must be registered in a university-approved study abroad program. Students must be in good standing relating to academic, conduct, and bursar activities, and they must also be legally eligible to complete an internship. For undergraduate students who are international students, if you are unsure of whether or not your visa permits internship activity, please visit Visa Services on campus. In addition to the eligibility for students, there's also eligibility requirements for internships. Qualifying internships must meet the following criteria. First, internships must be a minimum of 240 hours or the equivalent of 6 weeks at 40 hours worked per week. Internships must be completed during the summer 2015 semester. An intern must have professional supervision and mentoring throughout their experience. And finally, the internship must be unpaid or the pay must be equal or less than $1,500 gross pay for the full summer. The selection process for the Duke Career Center's IFP program involves having your application materials reviewed by an independent search committee. The search committee will review your internship proposals and be evaluating learning outcomes and the quality of experience. Internships that are considered competitive typically provide the opportunity for the following: intellectual growth, development, knowledge, and skills specific to a career or industry setting, exploration of career options and the understanding of career pathways within a specific industry, acquisition of professional skills. And all successful internship proposals will link your learning goals, whether they be academic, career, or self-knowledge, to the actual internship opportunity. We encourage students to submit internship proposals from a wide variety of backgrounds and diverse industries. However, there are some non-qualifying experiences. For example, fee-based volunteer programs, which typically require a student to either pay a large nominal fee or to fundraise prior to engaging in the internship, are not eligible for funding through the Duke Career Center's IFP. Also, courses and training programs without a significant experiential learning component are also not eligible. These types of experiences include traditional study abroad, which focus heavily on academics and do not include an experiential learning component. In the next couple slides, we're going to talk about some frequently asked questions. Throughout the application process each year, I tend to get a lot of questions from students, and many of those fall under the same theme. Those themes are going to be highlighted here in the next couple slides. The first frequently asked question is a very popular question that I see a lot. The question is, can I still apply to the internship funding program even if I have not yet been accepted into an internship? The answer to this question is yes. Yes, you can still apply to the internship funding program even if you have not yet been offered an internship opportunity. However, you must be in the application process or the interview process in order to be considered for funding. This means that you must have at least submitted an application or resume to the employer for his consideration. On your online application for the IFP, you can list up to 3 opportunities for which you'd like to be considered for funding. Again, please make sure that you have at least applied for these opportunities before listing them on your application. As part of the funding program's application process, you will also be required to provide certification from the employer that says that you've at least been either offered an opportunity, have accepted an opportunity, or have at least applied to an opportunity with their organization. This is called an employer verification form, and we're going to talk more about that in a few slides. Next frequently asked question. If I hadn't made a final decision on where I'll be interning yet, but I have received multiple offers, can I include more than one internship offer in my application? The answer to this question is yes. As I previously mentioned, you may include up to 3 internships for which you would like to receive funding on your application. In addition to meeting basic eligibility requirements, all 3 of the internships must be fully documented according to the application instructions in order to be considered for funding. Next question. How competitive is the internship funding program? This is a great question. I received this question a lot of different times throughout the application process, and there really isn't a straightforward answer. The internship funding program is an application-based program. Therefore, the number of awards is influenced by the number and quality of the applications submitted. On average, we see anywhere between 25 to 40% of applications being awarded each year. However, as I mentioned, it really does depend upon the quality of the applications. In order to best prepare yourself for this competitive program, I encourage you to carefully and thoroughly complete the application process. Treat this almost as if you are applying for a scholarship. Your essay should be written carefully and it should be proofread. Make sure that you're including all the requested information on your application and budget, and ensure that you're having your internship site supervisors complete the verification forms that are necessary. Next, frequently asked question. Are certain internships or industries favored for the internship funding program? The answer to this question is no. The internship funding program is open to a variety of different types of experiences and internships. The Career Center has funded students in a wide range of internships in government, profit, nonprofit, and non-governmental sectors, both domestically and internationally. However, please note that industries that tend to pay their interns tend not to be part of the application pool. This internship funding program is strictly for lowly paid or unpaid internship opportunities. As I have mentioned, there are a variety of types of opportunities that we have funded in the past. This slide demonstrates some of these opportunities. You'll note that some of these positions are located locally in Durham as well as across the world at both agencies that are nonprofit, governmental, private, and educational. If you have an internship opportunity that is unpaid or lowly paid and you are interested in pursuing it, I highly encourage you to submit that internship for funding through the internship funding program. The next couple slides that we're going to cover are going to be all about the application process. As I had mentioned previously, the internship funding program is a competitive program and it is application-based. Therefore, there are several steps that need to be completed by students. The first thing I want to mention is that there is an application deadline. This year, the application deadline is March 2nd at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is a hard deadline and there'll be absolutely no late submissions accepted. There'll be no exceptions to this deadline. There are several components or several steps that you'll need to complete in order to be considered. The first thing is obviously attending either an in-person information session or viewing this online information session. At the end of this information session online, make sure that you do fill out the completion form that is online. There will be a web address for you to do that at the end of the video. In addition to viewing the information sessions or attending the information session, you'll also need to complete through the Career Center website an employer verification form, which I've previously talked about, and an application form as well. Just a recap of the employer verification form, this is a form that the employer needs to fill out. This is just simply a verification statement that says that you have at least submitted a resume to an internship with the organization. You'll need to have each employer that you want to be considered for to fill out this form. So if you are submitting 3 internships on your application, you'll need to have 3 different employer verification forms completed. The application form is something that is also online that you'll need to complete. This will include information about you and your plans, as well as a detailed budget. The budget will need to be completed for each internship that you would like to be considered for. So again, if you have 3 internships that you have listed on your application, you'll need to fill out 3 different budgets. This is where you're going to be asking for assistance. So when we review applications to see who has a financial need, this is where your budget will come in. So you do want to spend some time and really think through what monetary needs that you have throughout the summer as a result of your internship and have those documented on the application form. In addition, you'll also need to submit some information through the Duke online eRecruiting site. In this, what you'll be doing is submitting a personal statement, which is a brief essay, and there are requirements for this online through eRecruiting. You'll also need to submit an updated resume and a transcript. For resume assistance, we do have drop-in advising available through the Career Center every day in the afternoon from 2 to 5 p.m. Or you can also arrange a time to meet with a career counselor by appointment. The transcript can be an unofficial transcript. In order to request that transcript, you'll need to seek out the assistance of the registrar. So you can go to the registrar's website through Duke and request that transcript. Once you have those 3 documents completed, you'll want to upload them in eRecruiting, and then you'll have to also then apply to the position. So we'll actually have a position posted in eRecruiting for the internship funding program, just like you would see if you were applying for an internship or a full-time job. I'll show you what this looks like in another slide. We'll have a screen cap for you to see. But after you upload those 3 documents, you do want to make sure that you go in and actually submit those documents to the online job posting in eRecruiting. Just one last note, all applicants are expected to uphold the Duke Community Standard for all of your application materials. This slide here is just simply a screen cap of our Duke Career Center website underneath the Internship Funding Program. This will just simply, again, document everything that needs to be submitted in order for a student to be a viable candidate for the Internship Funding Program. The first thing is that I want to point out, again, is that March 2nd deadline. This, again, is a hard deadline, and everything needs to be submitted by that deadline, including the employer verification forms. So here, just to run down this real quick, you'll see that there are some materials that need to be submitted through the Duke eRecruiting website, which is our online job posting board. And that will be your personal statement, your resume, and your unofficial transcript. In addition, off of our Career Center website, you'll see hot links for the online application form, which will include your basic personal information, internship information, and your budget, as well as the active link for the employer verification form. Again, each internship that you want to be considered will need to have a separate employer verification form. This form must be submitted by the actual employer and not you. If you fill out the form on behalf of the employer, it will not be accepted and your application will be considered incomplete. So please contact your employers as soon as possible and ask for them to fill out this form. This form just simply verifies that you have indeed started this application process with them for an internship opportunity. If you have been accepted for an internship funding award, another form will go out to the employer just to verify that you have indeed accepted the internship. But the first step is doing this verification form so that we can verify that you have indeed at least applied for an internship. This slide provides some additional information about the employer verification form. Again, this form will be completed by the employer at your request. Again, you cannot fill out this form on behalf of the employer. The actual employer has to complete the form. This verification form just provides some information for our records. The first thing it provides is some organization contact information, so that way we know who are you speaking with, what is the organization, and what is the basic contact information for that organization. It also provides documentation of a couple other items that we need. First is your internship application status. So we know, are you just now applying to the position? Are you in the interview process? Has an offer been extended to you but not yet accepted? Or have you indeed accepted the offer? It also provides information to us about the compensation involved with the internship, so that way we can verify that it is an unpaid or lowly paid internship. It also provides information about the responsibilities that will be expected of you, any supervision and mentoring that may be involved in the internship, and the number of hours that are expected of you as an intern. My biggest tip of advice for this is to request the employer to complete the internship verification form as soon as possible. Because the employer may be busy at certain times or may not see it as a priority, it is very important for you to submit the form to the employer and then follow up within a few days to see if they have indeed submitted the form to me. So this form will come directly to me and will not necessarily come through you once the employer has completed it. So you do want to make sure that it has been submitted. If the employer verification form is not submitted by March 2nd, unfortunately, your application will be considered incomplete and you will not be eligible to be considered for funding. So this is something that's very important that you do want to make sure the employer completes. This next frequently asked question kind of goes hand in hand with the employer verification form and employer responsibility of completing it. The question is, what if I can't reach my employer to get them to complete the employer form? Or what if my employer does not have reliable internet access? This is a good question, and we do understand that sometimes situations occur that are beyond your control. So, if this is a situation that you are facing, an alternative verification process may be available to you. However, only if you communicate the situation with me as soon as possible. This has to occur early in the application process so that way I can get an alternative form available to the employer. We do need to have some sort of verification to occur about the internship application in order for you to be considered as a candidate. So we will not waive this step, however, we may have an alternative form that can be completed. Last minute requests for accommodation around the employer verification form will not be granted, and that's just because of timing and the amount of paperwork that is occurring through my office at that time. So again, early communication is key if you do need to have this alternative available to you. Part of the internship funding program's application process involves you completing an online application form. This form will include some information about you, so it would be your personal contact information, some information about your academics and your career goals. It would also include organization information for each of the internships that you want to be considered. So if you are submitting a request for funding for 3 different internship opportunities, you want to include organization information for every one of those opportunities. You would also include budget information, and that would be for each internship as well. So again, if you're submitting your application and including internship opportunities for 3 different organizations, you want to have your budget information for each one of those organizations and opportunities. Within your budget information, you want to include all reasonable anticipated costs. So those costs would be things like your housing, your transportation, and the transportation could be both your daily commute as well as a once or twice long distance commute. So if you're flying to your location, you can certainly include your flight to and from that area. Also, you can include your food, utilities, and other miscellaneous expenses. So let's say, for example, that you have to apply for a student visa as part of your internship abroad. So there's usually a fee associated with that, and you can certainly put that in on your budget information. Other miscellaneous expenses might be something like getting vaccinations before you go for your internship. Those, again, can also be included. There are some non-qualifying expenses also. So you want to be aware of these. So the following items will not be considered as being a reasonable anticipated cost by the selection committee. So if you do include this information, it will be excluded when calculating your financial need. So some non-qualifying expenses would be things like your entertainment costs, dining out, cell phones and services, and other items that are at the Career Center's discretion. For example, a couple years ago, we had somebody who had a area on their budget that said Starbucks, and she said that she needed her daily latte covered in her expenses. Well, unfortunately, we will supply you with funding for food, but we will not supply you for funding for something like your daily latte. That is a luxury, and that's something that then you should be funding, not Duke. There are other terms and conditions associated with the budget, and those will be listed on your online application form as well. So you definitely want to make sure that you review those, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me here in the Career Center. In addition to completing your online application and having your employers complete the verification forms, you'll also need to submit your resume, your personal statement, and your transcripts through our eRecruiting database. To access our Duke eRecruiting database, you'll want to go to the following web address, duke.experience.com. Each Duke student has an account within our eRecruiting database already in existence. To access that, you'll just simply want to log in with your pre-existing user ID. Your user ID is the word Duke, D-U-K-E, plus your net ID. So, for example, if your net ID is ABC123, your username for eRecruiting would be Duke ABC123, all lowercase and no spaces in between. So it would be Duke plus your net ID. That will get you access into eRecruiting. Once you're in eRecruiting, you'll want to upload your required documents to your profile. I'll show you how to do that in the next slide. Once you have all of your documents uploaded, then you'll want to apply within the Internship Funding Program job listing by selecting your uploaded documents. Again, I'll show you how to do that in another slide. My tip for the day for this is to be sure to apply to the job posting. If you do not apply to the job listing, then your materials that you've uploaded are just simply on eRecruiting, and the selection committee will not be able to review them. So you want to make sure that you apply to the job description, so that way your materials will be sent to the selection committee. And again, I'll show you how to do that in another slide. Once you are logged into eRecruiting, the next step will be to upload your documents. At the top of the screen, there'll be a menu that says Home, Profile, Documents, Applications. You want to hover your mouse over Documents, which will then bring up a drop-down menu. One of the options on the drop-down menu will be Upload a Document. By clicking on that, you'll then go to the Upload page. Uploading your information will be very simple. It's very much like sending an attachment to an email. You'll browse for your document, select Upload, and that will then put your document onto your account in eRecruiting. You will need to do this for each of your documents. So you'll have to upload your resume, your personal statement, and your transcripts all separately. Once you have your documents uploaded into eRecruiting, the next step will be applying them towards the internship funding job posting. You'll want to go back to your menu at the top of the screen and look for Employers. Hover your mouse over Employers and a drop-down menu will occur. Select Employer Search. Once the Employer Search function comes up, type in Internship Funding. This will then bring back the Internship Funding Program's job posting. Once you have searched for the Internship Funding Program's position description in eRecruiting, this page will occur. Click on the Internship Funding Program hyperlink to access the full position description. Within the position description, you'll find detailed information about what is required of the personal statement, as well as additional terms and conditions for the application process. Once you've completed all the necessary application materials and have them uploaded into eRecruiting, you'll want to then apply those application materials to this position. To do that, you'll want to click on the button that says Apply. By clicking on Apply, you'll then be able to select your personal statement, the resume, and the transcript that you have previously uploaded, and then submitting those to the position. This will then submit your application materials to the selection committee for review. As I mentioned previously, you'll find personal statement guidelines listed in eRecruiting. That same information is listed here on this slide. For your personal statement, please follow the following guidelines. Your statement should be less than or equal to 3 pages in length. Within those 3 pages, please describe the organization or organizations in which your internships will be located. Also, please describe the responsibilities that will be associated with each position. Discuss how these opportunities will advance your personal, professional, or intellectual learning goals. This is a critical part of your personal statement. Relating your internship to your academic and experiential background and career goals is essential. This is how your personal statement will be evaluated through the selection committee. A strong personal statement is required in order to receive funding. If you're applying for a service internship, please also discuss the intention to contribute to the goal identified by the organization. If you'd like to have your personal statement reviewed by a career counselor, you can do so either by contacting the Career Center and arranging an appointment or coming to our daily drop-in hours, which are Monday through Friday between the hours of 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. There are terms and conditions associated with the Duke Career Center's internship funding program. First, awards are not transferable to internships outside the scope of the application. Therefore, if you'd like to be considered for funding for a specific internship, please be sure to have that internship represented on your online form as well as in your budget information. Also, internship funding program awards are considered taxable income and will be subjected to all federal and state taxes. Please note that your award will be taxed at the time of disbursement. Therefore, if you have an award of $3,000, please note that the actual amount that you'll receive in a check will be reduced based upon the information that you provide on your tax forms. If selected for an award, all applicants will be asked to do the following. Write a thank you letter to the donor. Submit at least 2 photographs taken throughout the internship. Attend a workshop in April called Ready, Set, Intern. Submit a reflective essay at the conclusion of the internship, which will then be forwarded to the funder. This will be due mid-September. Participate in a post-internship reception, also in September. And submit an entry about your internship to the internship feedback database. All applicants and recipients must adhere to these terms and conditions in order to receive funding. When considering your summer plans and applying to the Duke Career Center's internship funding program, we ask you to think about the following considerations. First, taxable income. As I mentioned in the previous slide, any award through the IFP program is considered taxable income and will be subjected to federal and state taxes at the time of disbursement. This is something that you want to plan for whenever you're thinking about your summer budget. Second, employer decision timeline. If you're planning on applying to a position that is at a federal level and may require a certain level of clearance, be sure to apply early so that way enough time is allotted to have that clearance processed. This can actually take several weeks to occur, so you want to make sure that you have enough time allotted so that way you can begin and finish your internship during the summer. International travel. If you're planning on traveling abroad for your internship, be aware that Duke does have a travel policy that extends to all undergraduate students. This includes certain processes that need to occur with registration of where you're planning on going and when. Also, there is a restricted regions list that you want to ensure that you check before accepting any type of internship. Also, Duke does require proof of health insurance before that you are permitted to travel abroad for an internship. The following are important dates and timelines for the selection process for Duke Career Center's IFP. March 2nd. This is the application deadline for all students who wish to be considered for funding. As I mentioned previously, this is a hard deadline and no exceptions will be made. April 3rd. This is the date when funding decisions will be announced. All applicants will be contacted regardless of whether or not they have been selected for funding. April 10th. For students who have been accepted for funding, they will need to complete their acceptance or decline paperwork and complete payroll paperwork through the Duke Career Center by this date. Late May. This is when award payments will be processed and dispersed. Late September. For students who have been awarded payment through our Duke Career Center's IFP, photographs, thank you letters, and reflection papers will be due at this time. We ask all applicants to start preparing in case that they are selected for funding. In order to ensure that payment is processed by the end of May, we will need certain information from you in a timely manner. It is best to start gathering this information now in case it is needed. To process your award check, you will need to present one of the following sets of original documents: a valid passport or a valid driver's license and a social security card. Again, these all need to be original documents and copies will not be accepted. We cannot accept any type of photograph, any type of email, or scanned documents. They do need to be presented in person with the original document. This is due to federal law and we cannot waive this requirement. As I previously mentioned, the Duke Career Center's Internship Funding Program awards a maximum amount of $3,000 per student. However, there is no guarantee that you will be awarded that maximum amount. We also understand that you may have a greater financial need than $3,000 for your summer experience. Therefore, we do encourage you to also seek out other funding sources on Duke's campus. There are several different funding sources available to undergraduate students for summer experiences, and many of these are coordinated through the Undergraduate Research Support Office, or the URS office. Listed on this slide, you'll find some of those funding sources. If you'd like to have a complete list of funding sources, please either email me directly at law55@duke.edu or to reach out to the Undergraduate Research Support Office. If you have questions or would like additional information about the Duke Career Center's Internship Funding Program, or if you would like to meet with a career counselor to discuss your application, please either contact the Career Center's receptionist at 919-660-1050 to arrange an individual appointment, or please plan to attend drop-in advising, no appointment necessary, on weekdays between the hours of 2 and 5 p.m. Thank you so much for attending and listening to the online information session regarding Duke Career Center's Internship Funding Program. As I mentioned previously, the funding program does require either an in-person visit to an information session or to attend this virtual session. In order to verify your attendance through the virtual session, please be sure to complete the survey found at the link displayed on the screen. This will then be recorded so that way you will get credit for your attendance. Thank you again, and good luck during your application process.